Hello everyone and welcome! The mystery of Jax laid unanswered literally for years. Who or what is he? Is he a Darkin? Probably not, because all the answers we needed were cleverly hidden in his newly updated lore. So let's dive right into it. Jax is a creature from lands far away that no longer exist. His home was destroyed by magics not from this world. He now travels Runeterra looking for a warrior to stand at his side and help him push the monsters from beyond back where they came from. One of his travels brings us to the farmlands of Demacia. Jax sat cross-legged at the center of a bridge with his long polearm resting on his knees. Demacia had not changed much since he last traveled this way, but that didn't surprise him. Its people zealously protected their borders, which had turned them into pretty decent fighters. Well, some of them anyway, he thought, wiping a spot of blood from the softly glowing head of his lamppost. He flicked the droplet over the parapet of the river below and reached into his robe to pull out third hard-boiled egg of the day. He tapped the egg on the cobbles and slowly peeled the shell as he heard warriors at the end of the bridge trying to decide which one would face him next. Jax lifted his mask and bit into the egg. He took a deep breath, tasting the wind and freshly turned earth from the farmland stretching to every horizon. Jax sighed. To see a realm at peace made him homesick from a land that no longer existed. He shook off the chill of memory, knowing thoughts of Icathia would only distract him. His robes were heavy, but the sun didn't reach the oddly hued skin beneath. No part of his flesh was visible, which was probably good for him. He wasn't even sure what his skin looked like anymore. A cold wind picked up from the snow-capped mountains to the north, and a distant storm brought rain over distant fields and settlements. Where Jax came from, there was little in the way of clouds, and even less rain. Perhaps the storm would come south and make the cobbles of the bridge slippery. That might make this challenging for him. It would also make it more difficult for his opponents. And perhaps that was not a bad thing. After all, a warrior worthy of fighting at his side in the battles against the monsters from beyond would need to be adaptable. He heard the clatter of armor and the whisper of a blade cutting air. "Stand and face me," ordered a powerful voice. Jax held up his finger while finishing his egg. He licked his lips, then settled his mask back over his face before looking up at the warrior standing before him. The man was powerfully built, broad shoulders and thick arms, armored head to foot in gleaming warplate. He carried a long double-edged sword, and he looked like he knew how to use it. That Jax approved. "You seem like a man who can hew iron birch trees all day and still have energy left for tavern brawl," Jax said. "I'll not waste words on you, monster," said the warrior, assuming the same fighting stance as all the others had. Jax sighed, disappointed the defeat of the 15 men before this one hadn't taught them anything. "Monster," he said, rising to his feet in one smooth motion. "I could show you monsters, but I fear you wouldn't live long enough to tell anyone what a real monster looks like." He swung his lamppost around to loosen the muscles in his shoulders. Not that he needed to, but he'd been fighting on and off for the last 4 hours, and it might make the man facing him feel like at least he had a chance of winning this duel. "For Demacia!" shouted the swordsman, and he attacked with the same tired, predictable strikes all the others had. The man was fast and strong enough to wield his sword in one hand. Jax swayed aside from the first blow, ducked the second, and parried the third. He spun inside the swordsman's guard and hammered his elbow against the side of his helmet. The metal buckled, and the man went down to one knee with a grunt of pain. Jax gave him a moment to still the ringing in his head. The man tore off his helmet and dropped it to the bridge. Blood matted the side of his head, but Jax was impressed at how the man controlled his anger. The Massians had always fought with discipline, and he was glad to see that nothing had changed. The man took steadying breath and attacked again. A series of blistering fast cuts that went high and low, mixture of sweeping slashes, lightning thrust and overhead cuts. Jax parried them all, his lamppost in constant motion as it deflected the Demacian's blade and delivered stinging, bruising ripostees to the man's arms and legs. He feinted left and hooked his lamppost around the opponent's legs, putting him flat on his back. He jabbed the butt of his post into the man's belly, doubling him up and leaving him gasping for air. "Had enough yet?" asked Jax. "I can swap hands if it makes it easier." "A Demacian would rather die than take a sucker from an enemy," said the warrior, lurching to his feet. The man's stone face began to crumble beneath Jax's mockery, and when he attacked again, it was with ferocity untempered by discipline and skill. Jax ducked a risky beheading strike and switched to one-handed grip on his lamppost. He spun his weapon under the man's sword and rolled his wrist. The warrior's sword flew from his grasp and flipped through the air. Jax caught it with his free hand. "Nice little weapon," he said, spinning the blade in a dazzling series of master fencer strokes. "Lighter than it looks." The Demacian drew his dagger and rushed him. Jax shook his head at his foolishness. He threw the sword from the bridge and sidestepped a series of blistering fast thrusts. He ducked a sweeping cut and caught a thunderous right cross in his open palm. He nodded toward the river. "I hope you can swim," he said, and twisted his wrist, lifting the armored warrior from his feet and flipping him over the bridge's parapet. The man splashed down into the river, and Jax planted his lamppost on the cobbles. "Who's next?" he said. "That would be me," said a woman dismounting a grey gelding at the end of the bridge. Her horse's flanks were covered in sweat, her cloak dusty from a hard ride. She wore a silver steel breastplate, and a long-bladed sword was ready at her hip. She marched past the man at the end of the bridge and strode toward him, moving with a perfect economy of motion, utterly in balance and supremely confident in her skill. Her features were angular, framed by dark hair streaked with crimson. Her eyes were cold and unforgiving. They promised only death. "Who are you?" asked Jax, intrigued. "My name is Fiora of House Laurent," she said, drawing her weapon, a dueling saber that gleamed with perfect edge. "And this is my bridge." Jax grinned beneath the mask. Finally, an opponent worth fighting. And that is where Jax's story ends. There are tons of information well hidden in this story. Now we know that he is a creature that originated from Icathia, which of course is located in Shurima. And since the whole place got destroyed and transformed into a gateway for the void creatures, he is looking for a partner to help him fight all the void spawns. So it is highly possible that we might get a battle between Malzahar and Jax. Also, since he is eating eggs and is having fun in taverns, I think we can scrap the idea of him being a Darkin. If you enjoyed this video, you can always click the like button since it would surely make my day. You can comment below anything from lore requests to how have your day been. You can always follow me on social media like Twitter or Facebook. Thank you guys so much for watching, you know I really appreciate it. And as always, thank you come again. So if you truly follow me on Facebook or Twitter, by now you would know that I have recorded another episode of Know Your Lore and Necrit and Chill, so it will probably be the next video. So throughout the upcoming week we will have Know Your Lore, and then one day after that we will have Necrit and Chill. I had a pretty awesome guest. It's someone that I've been a fan of for a really long time, so it was awesome to chat with him, and we actually had a lot of in common. So be looking for that. And with that, I guess see you next time.